Well, friends. As you can see, it's gonna be awesome tonight, right? We're going to talk about a very good topic that in everywhere in the world we cannot do without. So, let's have a look. Let me get things off the way so that we can start the ball rolling. Yeah, we are going to do that. We're going to do that and see how best we can, you know. So we're going to look at a very good topic, very interesting topic for everybody. Okay, friends, it's going to be awesome. We are going to talk about fraction. Fraction is very important in our daily lives. As far as we are concerned, we will do most calculations and we cannot do away with fraction. The fraction will definitely come into the equation. So that's why tonight we have decided to look at fractions. Okay, our topics we are going to look at in terms of fraction is multiplication, division, subtraction, and addition. As you can see, we have multiplication, okay, and we have division, and we have subtraction, and we have addition. That's wonderful, friends. So we're going to look at it, and the best way for us to enjoy what we're going to do tonight. So in the first place, let's look at the multiplication of fraction. So multiplication, multiplication. Okay, so multiplication of fraction. That's what we're looking at first. Okay, so if we have a number, say 3 over 4 multiplying 4 over 4, okay, when we look at it, we'll see that if we multiply 3 by 4, we'll get 12. And when we multiply 4 by 4, we say 16. You see, so eventually 16 is the simplest answer that we get when we solve such fraction. Now we know that 12 and 16 can be reduced. We have to look for a number that when you divide by 12, it will give you a residual, and also a number when you divide by 16, it will give you a residual. So over here, when we look at it, when we pick 4 as a number, so let's pick. Okay, let's pick 4 as a common number. Okay, let's pick 4 as a common number that will divide both 12 and 16. So as a common number that will divide both 12 and 16. You see, and you see that 4 will go into 16. Look at it. So these two numbers, 4 will go into them, because 4 will go into 12 3 times, and it will go into 16 4 times. So finally our answer is 3 over 4. Now let's talk about fraction. Okay, what is a fraction? Okay, in mathematics, we can say fraction. For instance, if we have a number a, this and that over b, okay, the number a on top is called the numerator. Numerator, okay, and the number b is called the denominator. Denominator, okay, and the line we see over here is called the division line. The division line. You see, friends? So as we can see, we have seen that A is called the numerator and B the denominator. But mathematically, we can also write A divided by B as A with a division sign B. You see, so if I have been given a number 7 over 9, this same number can be written as 7 divided by 9. You see, so we've seen the definition of fraction. The first variable, a, as you can see, is called a numerator, and the b is denominator. And as we can see, our equation now has come out beautifully that, everywhere we see it, we will be able to identify what is that. You see? So let's look at it. So when we pick this one, we know that our equation, this equation over here, okay, is the general definition, okay, of fraction. So A over B is the same as A divided by B. Okay? So now let's look at it. So anywhere we see this definition that A is too thick. Let's pick a lower one. Okay, everywhere we meet A over B, it means A is dividing B. So that is what we call fraction. Okay, now let's look at example of fraction. Okay, so examples of fraction. So examples of fractions. You see, as it's obvious. Example of fraction: 1 over 2 is a fraction. 1 over 3 is a fraction. 4 over 8 is a fraction. 9 over 9 is a fraction. 2 over 2 is a fraction. As you can see, we have 8 over 18 is also a fraction. Okay, so this is a common fraction that you will come across in our daily activities when we are working mathematics. Okay, so we see that if we take half, for instance, let us write half. If we say half, which is 1 over 2, okay, now we can say that the numbers on top, as we saw earlier, have got their own definition. And then so over here we say 1 is the numerator, and we said the 2 is the denominator. You see, so when we choose to look at the numbers we see over here, we can mark all our numerators by color red, for instance. Okay, so let's color our numerators by red. Let's see how we go about it, so that we'll be able to identify or distinguish between the denominator and numerator. So let's look at it. If we take, okay, so down with that, let's see the best way to approach it. You see that when I take this one, I highlight this one, you see, this is our numerator. This one over here, again, is also going to be the numerator. Okay, so you see 4 is also a numerator. Okay, let's go back to it again. Our 9 over here is also a numerator. Okay, and our 1 over here is also a numerator. Have you seen it? And 2 is also a numerator. You see, 8 obviously will also be a numerator. See, so as we realize, we are able to distinguish between the numerator and the denominator. Now, let's go and identify our denominators. Okay, so let's look at our denominator. Let's mark our denominator as red, color red. So 2 beneath 1 is a denominator. This is also a denominator. 3. Okay, so let's mark everything for us to be sure. So we see that 3 over here, we don't want it to be blue, so we say Command Z. Okay, good. So let's go back again and mark all our numerators. Okay, here we are here, so we'll come here and we'll select that one. Okay, right, so let's change this one into color red. Good. So everything's supposed to be color red. So when we pick that, we say this is a denominator. This is also a denominator. And that is also a denominator. Okay. Then 2 beneath the 2 is also a denominator. And our 18 below the 8 is also a denominator. Have you seen it? So, with our example we have shown, okay, we see that we have half, 1/3, 4/8, 9/9, 2/2, and 8/18 as fractions. Okay, so it's very interesting. So when we go and we see something like this, we will not be confused. If a teacher asks you to write a fraction, you will be confident enough to be able to write it without hesitation. Okay, now, so this is a common example of fraction. Now we have another group of fraction called mixed fraction. Now mixed fraction. Let's talk about mixed fraction. So that one is mixed. So yeah, that is mixed fraction. Okay, that is mixed fraction. Let's talk about mixed fraction. Mixed fraction is another interesting one. Okay, so let's look at it. You see, there will be a number called the whole number. Okay, so the mixed fraction is when we have 1, 2/4, 3, 7/8, 10, 20/5, 11, 6/8, 9, 2/3. You see, These are called mixed fraction. Okay, so let's look at something. So this, what we've seen over here, are called mixed fraction. Mixed fraction. Now we are going to see the reason why we call them mixed fraction. Okay, so this is called the mixed fraction. Mixed fraction, let's see. So this, as we can see over here, okay, is a mixed fraction. This is a mixed fraction. Now let's go and distinguish them so that when we see mixed fraction, we'll see. So this is a mixed fraction. Okay, let's move that side here. And we'll come here and we'll say give us green. So we see everything we are going to mark here is called what? A mixed fraction. Okay, this is a mixed fraction. Alright. Mixed fraction. So we have this, all this one, as we can see, are the mixed fraction. Now, you can see that with a mixed fraction, we have a certain number that comes first before we see our normal fraction. So let's mark them and see. Let's mark them and see. So as you can see here, if you look at this one, we have a number here, okay, which is 1. And over here, we have a number here, which is 3. And number 10 over here. Yeah. Okay, then we have a number here that comes before the fraction. This is number 11. And this is number 9. You see, the reason why we call them a mixed fraction is that the numbers that comes before the fractions we see. Now, as we learned earlier, we saw that numbers such as 2 over 4 is a fraction, and 7 over 8 is a fraction, and 20 over 5 is a fraction, and 6 over 8 is a fraction, and 2 over 3 is a fraction. Have you seen that? Beautiful. Now, we can say that the fraction, we have been able to identify them. 2 over 4 is a fraction, and 7 over 8 is a fraction, 20 over 5 is a fraction, and 6 over 8 is also a fraction, 20 by 3. We can't do without it. Now, we have seen that we have numbers 1, okay, let's look at it. Numbers 1, numbers 1, you see, numbers 1 over here. We have a number 3, okay, we have a number 10, and we have number 11, and number 9, okay, beautifully. You see these numbers comes before the fraction, and because of that, we call these numbers whole numbers. Okay, so the whole numbers, this and that, and that, and that, and that are all whole numbers. So we say 1, 3, 10, and 9 are called whole numbers. This is whole numbers. So when we take 1, 2 over 4, we say 1 whole number, 2 over 4. So that's how we call this one. The first one, 1, 2 over 4, we say 1 whole number one whole number 2 over 4. Okay, so one whole number 2 over 4. Have you seen that? One whole number 2 over 4. And the same way, we will call 3 7 over 8 is 3 whole number 7 over 8, and a 10 whole number 20 over 5. Let's look at it. This, we say 1 whole number 2 over 4, and this is 3 whole number 7 over 8. Okay, and it's a 10 whole number 20 over 5, and there's 11 whole number 6 over 8, and a 9 whole number 2 over 3. You see? So now we've seen our whole numbers. 1 is a whole number, 3 is a whole number, 10 is a whole number, 11 is a whole number, and 9 is a whole number. It's not beautiful? Very, very beautiful. So we have seen the fraction is given as derived from the scratch. Okay, we've seen that A is called the numerator and a B is the denominator, and the line between A and B is called the division line. So as we got here, we realize that this is the definition of fraction. A over B can also be written as A and a traditional sign, dash, dot, dot, dot on top and dot below, and B is the same as division as we've learned earlier. So 7 over 9, okay, 7 over 9 can also be written as, that dash that 7 over 9. So A over B can be written as this. As our fraction definition. Then we looked at example of fractions. You see, we saw that all the top numbers are called the numerator numbers. So we distinguish between the two with different colors. Okay, so here, as we saw earlier, we have been able to identify between the fraction and the subtraction. Okay, here it's supposed to be blue, but not red. Okay, so let's look at it. Blue, yep. So this is blue. Okay, now let's go back and see. So 1,1,4,9,2,8 are all called the numerators, and the 2, 3, 8, 9, 2, 18 are called the denominators. Okay, so this is example of fraction, and we moved up and we said mixed fraction is another type. Why do we call them mixed fraction? Because we have 2 over 4 in the first number, which is mixed with a number 1. When we look at the 3 over 7, we see that 3 is mixed in with our fraction 7 over 8. When we look at 10, it's also mixed in with our fraction 20 over 5. You see, it's becoming interesting. Now let's look at 11 and 6 over 8. You see, 6 over 8 is fraction, which is mixed with 11. So we call it mixed fraction. Okay, then 9, 2 over 3, okay, we call it mixed fraction. Now, friends, when we observe what we have on the screen, we see that we have highlighted 1, 3, 10, 11, and 9. Why did we do that? Because we want to distinguish from the fact that 1, 3, 10, and 11, and 9, as we see, are whole numbers. You see, so that's what we say they are whole numbers. Well, they come before our fraction. Okay, so now we have to be able to see how we can identify between the two. Okay, now can we always work with our mixed fraction? Can the mixed fraction make our calculations easy all the time? No, it will not be easy if we continue to work with mixed fraction. Okay, so every now and then we should try as much as possible to be able to change our mixed fraction to be a whole fraction so that we can work with them. So now we are going to see how to convert a mixed fraction to a whole fraction. Okay, so we say conversion, okay, of mixed fraction. All right, conversion. So let's use conversion of mixed.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 minute.
Conversion of mixed fraction. Have you seen it? That's a conversion. So we're going to see how we will convert our mixed fraction to a whole number. So conversion of mixed fraction to a whole number. So now look at it. Let's take, for instance, as we have one whole number, 2 over 4. So look at it, 1 whole number, 2 over 4 is our mixed fraction. So for us to be able to change it into a whole fraction, we say, this is how we're going to do it. You say 1 times 4, okay, plus 2, all divided by 4. So when we multiply 4 by 1, we will get 4 plus 2 over 4. Okay, then 2 plus 4 will give us 6. Okay, divided by 4. So therefore, our conversion of 2 over 4 is the same as 6 over 4. So as you can see, now we have been able to convert one whole number, 2 over 4, into a common fraction. Let's do one more example. If we have 3 whole number, 2 over 5, let's see how we'll do it. Okay, so that one, you say convert. They say convert to proper fraction. Okay, convert to proper fraction. So how do we go about it? We have 3, okay, 3, we have our number 3, and 2 divided 5. So we say 3 multiplied by 5 into bracket plus 2 all divided by 5. You see? So when we multiply 3 by 5, normally we have to do the one in the bracket first. before we think of addition, okay, in board maths. So 3 times 5 will be 15. Don't forget that we still have our plus here. So it's a plus 2 all divided by 5. So this will give us 17 over 5. So see, this is our fraction. Okay, so you see that we are able to convert it from fraction, okay, from mixed fraction to a proper fraction. Now let's look at another one. 5, 2 on 3. How do we convert this? So this one will be 5 multiplying 3 into bracket plus 2 all over 3. As we know that we have to deal with the 1 in the bracket first. So we say 5 times 3, which is 15. And don't forget, we still have our addition sign here. So we say plus 2 all over 3. 15 plus 2 is 17 over 3. Okay? Now, let's try one more. Okay? Let's convert one whole number, 20 over 5. How do we solve this one? So our question, one whole number, 20 over 5. So we say 5 times 1 plus our 20 all divided by 5. And we know that 5 times 1 will be 5 plus 20 all over 5. So 5 plus 20 will give us 25 over 5. So this is our fraction. Let's do one more example. Okay, we have 16 whole number, 2 over 3. They say we should convert this into a fraction. So what do? Let's use another color to beautify our work. So now, this will be 16 whole number, 2 over 3. Means, let's do something. Let's use another color. So we say 16 multiplying 3 into bracket plus our 2 all over 3. You see, in the bracket, when we look at 16 multiplied by 3, will give us 48. That's one. So we say 48. Okay, plus, don't forget, we still have our 2. So the 2 divided by 3. And 48 plus 2 will be 50. So we said this is equals to 50 divided by 3. So you see, so we have been able to do with how to convert mixed fraction to a whole fraction, or some people call it proper fraction. So I say note, mixed fraction is sometimes called improper fraction. It's sometimes called improper fraction. Okay? So mixed fraction is sometimes called improper fraction. They are improper fraction because of the first number that comes before the actual fraction. That is why we call it the improper fraction. Then also the one we saw earlier is called proper fraction. So for instance, if we have 5/9 is called proper fraction, and 13/6/8 is improper fraction. Friends, that is where we will finish our studies for today. Okay, as we saw earlier, okay, we looked at what is called fraction in the first place. Okay, then we saw, this is what we saw. Okay, we started by doing multiplication of fraction, but I think that would be too harsh if we start doing multiplication of fraction without we understanding what we mean by fraction. So we moved on straight on, and we said that when we see something like that, that is written in mathematics, where we have a dash line over b, then that form is called fraction. But a fraction itself, the top variable, which is a, is called the numerator, and a b is the denominator. We also saw that this same equation a over b can be written as a divided by b. So we use 7/9 as an example. Okay, then we'll look at an example of fractions. Okay, with the example of fraction, we saw 1/2, 1/3, 4/8, 9/9, 2/2, and 8/8 as our fractions. Then we realize that we can differentiate between the two. All the top numbers are referred to as numerator, and all the bottom numbers, which we have made it in the color of red, are called the denominator. Okay, so when we see this, we must be able to write a fraction without difficulty. Now we saw that there's another form of fraction that is called mixed fraction. Mixed fraction. So we saw this one. We saw that we have 1 that comes before 2 and 4, 3 that comes before 7 and 8, 10 that comes before 20 and 5. As you can see, you see, then we have 9 that came before 2/3. But for what we learned earlier, anytime we see 2/4, we know that we are talking about fraction. And when the same way, when we see 7/8, we are referring to it as a fraction, as it goes on and on. Then we highlighted all the whole numbers. So the numbers that came before 2/4, you see, that is 1. This is 3. So we know 1, 3, 10, 11, 9 are all whole numbers. So we say this can be written as 1, 2/4 is 1 whole number, 2/4. Okay, now I said in life, if we are going to work with whole numbers, it will always pose difficult. So because of that, we say this, we have to think of being able to convert our whole number to mixed fraction to a whole mixed fraction to a whole number, so that life will be easy. And this is how we went about it. You see, over here we have 1 whole number, 2/4. Okay, then we know we multiply 4 by 1, So we wrote it here 4 by 1, and we add our 2. So 1 times 4, which is 4, we wrote it here. Then we brought our number 2, so plus 2. Then 4 plus 2 give us 6. So that means 6 over 4 is the whole fraction, the proper fraction. Then 1 whole number 2 over 4, also, that's what we get. So when we have 3 whole number 2 over 5, when we did the conversion, we multiplied 3 by 5. That is what we have in the bracket. And I reminded you that we always deal with what in the bracket before we think of the addition. Okay, so here we say 3 times 5 plus 2 all over 5. And we know 3 times 5 is 15 plus 2. So 15 plus 2 is 17 by 5. So you see, we are able to convert it. In the same vein, when we had 5 whole number 2 over 3, we say 5 times 3, wrote it here, into bracket, plus the 2. So we know 5 by 3 is 15 plus 2 over 3. And that will be 17 over 3. Okay? And on and on and on and on. Okay? So I will ask you to practice if you really want to have a solid grip of what we have discussed today. The best thing you have to do is practice, practice, practice. Makes man perfect. In mathematics, as I keep telling everybody, we don't read mathematics. We put our pencil or pen on the paper and we write, practice, and you'll be the best, like Einstein. You see, so I said mixed fraction is sometimes called improper fraction. Okay, so 5 over 9 is called improper fraction. Okay, it's called what? It's called proper fraction. You see, 5 over 9 is called proper fraction. Sorry. And the 13, 6 over 8 is improper fraction. Have you seen it? So it's been so easy. Now we know that 5 over 9 is a proper fraction because there's no number in front of it. No number like 2, no number like 3, no number like 4, no number like 15 or anything. As compared to 13, you see, that precedes or that comes before 6 and 8. As we always know that 6 and 8 are our fraction. 13 inclusive, the 6 and 8 make our fraction improper. So that is what we call improper fraction. Friends, that is where we will stop. Please subscribe the channel and also click on the bell so that you'll be the first person to see the next tutorials. Have a blessed day and bye.